My name is Daniel O'Connor. I am 42 years old, and this was the moment I realized that I was trapped by the version of success I never really questioned. From the outside, I had done everything right. Married at 28, 2 kids by 32, a mortgage in a quiet neighborhood, a management job with a stable salary and predictable raises, responsible, dependable, respectable, the kind of life that makes relatives nod approvingly at Christmas dinner. And I won't lie, for a long time, that approval felt good, because I grew up hearing one thing: stability is success. My father worked until his joints stiffened and his back bent forward permanently. He never complained. He just repeated, "You don't chase dreams, you secure your family." So I did. I secured everything, except myself. My days became identical. 6:30 alarm, shower, commute, coffee, traffic lights timed so precisely I could predict them. At work, I wasn't miserable. I was functional. Meetings about numbers that moved decimals. Emails marked urgent that weren't. Targets that reset every quarter so no one ever truly arrived. We all lived for Friday, which meant we were enduring Monday to Thursday. That should have been my first warning. When you live for 2 days a week, you are surviving 5. But I called it maturity. That's what adults do, right? Sacrifice now, relax later. The problem is, later keeps moving. When I got home, my kids would run toward me. "Dad, look what I made. Dad, guess what happened?" I hugged them. I smiled. But mentally, I was still in a spreadsheet, calculating bills, planning promotions, thinking about the next step. I told myself, I'm doing this for them. But one Tuesday evening, something small happened. My son was talking about a drawing he made at school. I nodded automatically. He kept talking, then he stopped. I looked up. He was staring at me, waiting. And I realized I had no idea what he'd just said. Not because it wasn't important, but because I wasn't present. I was there in body, not in spirit. That moment unsettled me more than any financial worry ever had. Later that night, I sat alone in the dark living room. No television, no phone, just silence. And I asked myself a question I had avoided for years. If nothing changes, would I be proud of the life I lived? Not proud of the income, not proud of the house. Proud of how I spent my time. I imagined being 60, retired, financially stable. But looking back and realizing I had postponed myself for decades, postponed trying that business idea, postponed learning that skill, postponed traveling, postponed being fully present, because I was too busy proving I was responsible. That's when it hit me. I wasn't trapped by my job. I wasn't trapped by my wife. I wasn't trapped by my children. I was trapped by a script handed down quietly. Go to school, get safe job, climb ladder, buy house, repeat. And if you deviate, you're irresponsible. If you question it, you're ungrateful. If you want more, you're selfish. So I never questioned it, until I realized something uncomfortable. I wasn't chasing my dream. I was protecting other people's approval, my parents' approval, society's approval. The silent scoreboard that says, bigger house equals better man, higher title equals higher worth. But no one asks if you're fulfilled. They just ask if you're secure. Security is important, but security without purpose becomes quiet suffocation. And I had adapted so well to mild dissatisfaction that I mistook it for adulthood. That's what scared me most. I wasn't depressed. I wasn't collapsing. I was comfortably numb. The next morning in traffic, I looked at the rows of cars around me. Everyone staring forward, coffee in hand, faces blank. And I wondered how many of us had dreams we quietly buried because they didn't fit the approved version of success. That was the moment I realized something. If I keep living like this purely for approval, I will eventually resent the very life I built. And worse, my children will think this is normal. They will grow up believing success means exhaustion, that fulfillment is optional, that being alive is secondary to being respectable. I don't want that for them. So here's what I learned. Success is not what people clap for. Success is what allows you to wake up without resentment. Don't let other people define what your life should look like. Not your parents, not your friends, not social media, not the culture that tells you there's only one respectable path. Because if you live for approval, you will die with regret. And regret is heavier than failure. Failure teaches. Regret lingers. Failure leaves scars, but scars heal. They become stories, lessons, wisdom you can pass on. Regret is different. Regret sits quietly in the background of your life. It shows up in small moments. When you see someone younger taking the risk you were too afraid to take. When you hear about someone starting over at 45 and think, I used to have that kind of courage. When you lie awake at night, wondering what would have happened if you had just tried. Failure hurts once. Regret hurts repeatedly. You can fail chasing your own dream and still respect yourself. You can look in the mirror and say, at least I was brave enough to try. But succeeding at someone else's definition will eventually hollow you out. Because deep down, you'll know. You'll know the applause wasn't for the real you. It was for the version that fit in. And that's a quiet kind of loneliness. To be praised for a life that doesn't feel like yours. I'm not telling you to quit your job tomorrow. I'm not telling you to abandon responsibility. I'm not telling you to burn everything down and start from scratch. That's not maturity. That's impulse. What I am telling you is this. Start paying attention to the voice you've been muting. The one that speaks when things are quiet. The one that says, there has to be more than this. Ask yourself a hard question. Not the question your parents would answer. Not the question your friends would answer. Not the question that sounds impressive in conversation. But the honest one. If no one else had an opinion, what would you actually want? What would you build? What would you attempt? What would you stop pretending to enjoy? And once you answer that, don't announce it. Don't post about it. Don't seek validation for it. Just take one step toward it. Small, quiet, but intentional. Maybe it's dedicating 1 hour a day to something that feels like you. Maybe it's having one honest conversation you've been avoiding. Maybe it's learning something new instead of scrolling. Maybe it's saying no when you usually say yes. The cage doesn't collapse overnight. It loosens slowly, because the worst prison isn't hard labor. It's comfortable conformity. It's waking up 10 years from now and realizing nothing changed because you were too polite to disappoint anyone. It's being admired for your discipline while secretly envying people who chose differently. And if you don't choose your life deliberately, you will inherit one by default. Default settings, default expectations, default milestones. And one day, you'll wonder how you arrived somewhere you never consciously chose. The moment I realized I was living someone else's version of success was the moment I understood that responsibility and authenticity are not enemies. You can provide and still pursue. You can be stable and still be alive. You can love your family and still honor your own calling. But only if you're honest with yourself. Don't wait until you're 60 to ask who you could have been. Don't wait until your children are grown to rediscover your courage. Don't wait until your health forces you to slow down. Time doesn't refund unused potential. Live your own dream. Not recklessly, not selfishly, but consciously. Because the alternative isn't safety, the alternative is regret. And regret is a weight that doesn't get lighter with age, it gets louder. So choose deliberately, even if it's uncomfortable, even if it's small, even if no one claps for it. Live your own dream, or prepare to live with the regret of never trying. My name is Daniel O'Connor, and this was the moment I realized I wasn't trapped by the world. I was trapped by the life I never questioned. And the moment I questioned it was the moment I finally began to wake up.